Hey, it's time for TV Skywriter.
And welcome to TV Skywriter. I'm Pat Murray. I publish the Durham Skywriter, that's Durham, North Carolina's online community paper. And with TV Skywriter, I'd like to introduce you to people I think you should know. Today's guest is U.S. Navy Commander Arthur Wiggins, and his home is Durham. So welcome, Commander Wiggins.
Welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Very, very happy to have you here. And I want to thank, first off, Alexandra Presley for setting this up. Got an email out of the blue, and I was very excited to say yes, to have you on, and for you to be right there on a ship. That's very exciting for me.
That's correct, Patricia. We're here in Naval Station Norfolk, and I'm aboard the USS George HW Bush right here, Pierside. We just came back from underway, and we're all getting ready for the Christmas break. So some of our crew have already left for the holidays, and some of us will go home for New Year's after Christmas.
How much time do you get off? Like a week or two, or does everybody get the same amount of vacation time?
Well, we all get 30 days paid vacation a year if you have a reason to take more, but we usually try to keep it to a week, then you come on back because we got so many different things we have to do on the ship.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask some really basic questions because, as I explained to you in the pre-interview, I'm going to make an article out of this on the job page of the Durham Skywriter so that young people can read this and learn about the world of work. So basically, I want to start off with, what are your duties as a chaplain?
Well, first and foremost, we all have a First Amendment right of freedom of religion, so we perform worship services. That's the first and foremost thing. I am a Baptist minister. To be a chaplain, you have to be some form of clergy, and that's the first thing that we do. Along with worship, we do baptisms, we do counselings, we do community relations projects. We advise our CO, our commanding officer, on different points, and generally take care of the crew in every spiritual sense you could imagine. I just had someone in my office this morning who just wanted to talk, and so they come to us and they need somebody to talk to who's not in their direct chain of command, who's not going to deal with them from a work standpoint and see them more as a human being. I always say I get paid to love people. That's my job, and so that's. Yeah, I take care of the entire crew.
That's beautiful. Now, is it sort of like an attorney where there's client privilege, where where they can trust you not to blab what they talked about to anyone else?
I like to use that word blab. Yes, it's very similar to attorney-client privilege, but I would say we have a greater confidentiality than you have with our attorney-client. So anything you say to a chaplain, and is what you call clergy parishioner protected, is you don't even have to you can't be forced to say it in court. It's 100% protected.
Wow. Okay. Now I assume not everyone on the ship is Christian, and I assume there's a certain number who aren't religious at all. But what about people who are like Catholic or Muslim or Jewish? Can you counsel them as well?
I can counsel anyone on general spirituality, general issues. In the Navy Chaplain Corps, we have a plethora of different types of chaplains. And so on your ship, there may be a Catholic priest, there may be a Christian chaplain, there may be a rabbi, there may be a Muslim imam. So you may find what you're exactly looking for. But generally, unless we're talking about specifics of your particular religion, I am capable of counseling anybody, and those who have no particular religion, because we know there are a lot of people who are atheists and don't believe in God, and they still come to me, and we're able to talk. Generally, if you just care about people, you can counsel anyone.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Now, you told me that you met your wife here at North Carolina Central University at the School of Law, right?
That's correct.
So both of you are attorneys?
That is correct. My wife still practices law. I used to practice law in the Marine Corps. I was a JAG officer, and now I'm a chaplain. But we both met as young law students at North Carolina Central, yes.
Wow. So how did you make it sounds like a leap from attorney to chaplain. How did that occur? Was it in the back of your mind that you were eventually going to serve God, or did it suddenly just grab you? You got a calling?
Well, there definitely was a calling. And I love the way people was making a leap. One day I was going to serve. I believed I was serving God when I was even an attorney.
Okay.
Okay. So I think anybody can serve God in any discipline, whether it be a bus driver, a good cook, or whatever. If you give God the glory, then you're serving God, and you thank Him for your opportunity to work. And so I believe I was serving God even in that capacity. Of course, I did not go to law school thinking I was going to be a chaplain. That would have been a waste of time and money. But I was a lawyer practicing, and then I've been very spiritual, very religious. I felt God move on my life. I felt a calling that it was time for me to move from one particular workplace to another. And I went back to seminary. I got my seminary degree from Samuel D. Proctor School of Theology at Virginia Union. I had to do my 2 years on-the-job training to learn how to be a minister, how to be a chaplain, and then I applied to the chaplain corps, and they accepted me. God bless.
So was everybody surprised, and your wife in particular?
There definitely were a lot of family and friends who were surprised. My wife, not so much. The thing, when you live with somebody, they see the growth in you. And when I came to my wife and told her I was being led to be a minister from leaving the Marine Corps in the legal field, she had seen it. She saw my growth in the church. She saw my growth in the community, everything from reading the Bible, praying, trying to walk a different walk. So, yeah, my wife was very supportive, but she was not as surprised as you might think.
Now, I don't know anything about the Navy. I've never met anyone before who was with the Navy. So I don't know how often the ships come and go and how long you're away from your family. And also,
Well, it's generally you're assigned to the ship, sea duty, for 3 years.
Ooh.
And so in that 3 years, you should be looking at being underway approximately 6 months a year while you're assigned to the ship. And then you'll go to another duty. The average person is assigned to the ship for 3 years, and that can be 3 years, and you do 3 deployments in that year. Because the ships do cycles. They do cycles, and then they do cycles where they have to go in the yards and get, outfitted, refixed, and all the different engine parts and everything have to be overhauled. And so depending on when you arrive on the ship determines on how often you're going to be going to sea. But generally, a tour on the ship is 3 years. So
you don't always see the same personnel because they're coming and going every 6 months, I take it.
That's correct. It's a roving personnel. You'll come on and people will be leaving at that time. I checked on board the USS Bush approximately 3 months ago, and we've already had people leave since I checked on, and they'll be going every month. There'll be more people leaving and more people coming.
I'm curious, if there is such a thing, what is a typical day like? Because you're there on a ship, so I suppose and with your being in the military, I'm guessing your life is very regimented. I don't know. So what is a typical day like?
All right. Well, Reveille goes at 0600. That's 6 a.m. That's the first time. That's when everybody gets up usually and starts moving. Of course, we have duty that's on 24 hours a day. So there's always security on the ship. But the general crew wakes up at 06, those who live on the ship. We have a start time from 07. That's when we start our first inspections. We'll have breakfast in the morning, and I'll have my first meeting with my executive officer at 0730, and then I'll have my first meeting with my staff at 0800, at 8 a.m. And after that, we'll start turning to around 8:20. There's always a policing of the ship, so we have a cleaning stations where everybody on the ship from a certain rank and below has to clean the ship. You can imagine that we have a lot of people. We have over 3,000 people on the ship right now, so it's a lot of trash, and so we're always trying to clean the ship.
Does that include you?
But then we start. The 3,000? Yes, ma'am.
So
the 3,000 includes me.
So you know the term swap the deck then?
Deployment.
Swab the deck?
Well, I'm only responsible for my own stateroom. Okay. So the office space. So yeah, I can swab my own deck though. I've done that many times over the years. And so we have cleaning stations. We have times for counseling. We have our damage control. We have certain areas of the ship where we have to go and make sure that they're working properly. That's everything from fire extinguishers to flashlights to all our different auxiliary processes. And then we have our physical fitness program that we have to keep up with. We have, again, a whole array of religious ministries, Bible studies, worship, counseling. And then we have a lot of meetings that we have to do because the ship's always doing something. So it's a busy day. We used to use the term typical day. We don't use that term around here because if you say that, It won't be typical.
So you check things like the maintenance things, or they check it every single day?
We have spot check. We have a list of spots that have to be done every week. You can pick which day you want to do them, but you'll have a list you have to do every single week.
Wow.
Weekly spot
That's
checks.
pretty amazing. So what kind of adjustments do you have to make to be on a ship? Because the only person I know who's been on a ship was a musician, and she said it was very difficult to, I guess it upset her stomach, the constant moving. So you're on a considerably larger ship. And I'm wondering, are there any adjustments physical adjustments that you have to make, or even mental?
Well, I would say probably physical and mental adjustments you have to make. Definitely if you get seasick easily, that would be a big adjustment. The carrier is a big ship, so you can feel it move, but it's not like being on any other ship. It doesn't move much. We call this a floating city. As you see, it's a huge flight deck back there. So to be able to launch planes, this ship is 3 football fields long.
Oh my
so
God.
it's not like being on a small ship. Yeah, it's pretty big. And so you don't feel a lot. But along with that, we have small living spaces. So if you're used to a big house, a big king-size bed, a big living room, you're not going to have that here. And so the living quarters are a little bit smaller. But we have a lot of the creature comforts. We have TVs, we have hot water, hot showers, great food.
And obviously you have internet.
Being 6'2", we do have internet. As I'm talking, internet on the way is not that great, but internet when we're in port is pretty good. You can imagine for the sea, internet, the connection is pretty good. So we have our internet. We have a lot of great movies on board, but also I would say 6'2". Sometimes you hit your head, you got to duck under things. So that's
now,
what
this is going to be a really dumb question. Again, I've never seen a ship, but when it comes to like driving and turning and stuff, how many personnel does it take to not man the ship, but to operate the ship? I can't imagine what the driver's seat looks like.
Okay. Well, we usually have one person. I go up to the pilot house every night, and when I go up to the pilot house, there's usually one person doing the actual steering of the ship. One person. That being said, there's an assistant right beside them. There's a navigator. There's a quartermaster. There's someone who is checking tides, to the wind, to the everything you can imagine with navigating a ship. So there's approximately 6 people.
Okay, I was thinking there would be something like that, and I can't imagine anything like a sharp turn. You know, not.
Well, sharp turns for us would not be what you would think of a sharp turn. We've had some sharp turns, but nothing like you would think of a sharp turn for us. Probably isn't that sharp.
So what if someone watching has it in their mind that they want to? I'm going to ask you 2 questions. What does it take to join the Navy on one hand, but then on the other hand, what does it take to be a chaplain in the Navy in terms of preparation and what you have to do?
Well, I think to join the Navy is definitely a lot easier. You just got to have a willing heart and be patriotic and be physically fit and mentally fit. You can go down to your local Navy recruiter and they will give you a test. And then after you pass the test and they do the background check, you'll go to MEPS and they'll do a physical exam. And then from there on, you'll be in the process of going ultimately to boot camp and learning how to be a sailor. So if you're an American citizen, you're 18 years of old, I believe it's still 17 years with parental consent, you can go down to the recruiter office and start that process. Now, to be a Navy chaplain, that's to be an officer. So you first have to have your 4-year degree to become an officer. Then to be a chaplain, you would have to get another advanced degree, a Master's of Divinity, you know, or the equivalent in your particular faith group. And then you have to do at least 2 years of training, because when we come on, remember, we're the subject matter experts for religion, so I have to be able to do everything that a Christian minister could do in a church. So that's everything from baptisms to serving communion to funerals to weddings, and as well as worship services.
I understand.
So
and
it's a little bit more
Friar
difficult to
Wade
be
is
a
in the
Navy chaplain.
audience, a good friend of mine. He has 2 questions. He'd like to know if you know Chaplain Thomas Eddy. Okay. And his second question is, what is the age limit to be a Navy chaplain?
Well, there really isn't an age limit. I think they like you to come in around, 35, but there's definitely age waivers, and I've seen that before. So I would say just call your local recruiter and tell them of your interest, and then tell them your age, because depending on your physical health and depending on the need, there may be a waiver.
What is it like being on the deck of a gigantic, you said 3 football fields long? What is it like being on the ship? I mean, when you got on the ship for the first time and went on deck, what did it feel like?
It's pretty humbling to see, say the least. You're on top of something that has a lot of technology. I'm not a very technically minded person. I take my car to the shop. I don't do my own auto mechanics. And to be here and see planes land and launch, and see them, how many people it takes for that to happen. And we're talking about 100 people, all choreographed to a certain scheme, all on one mission. It's pretty awesome to see. Young people are doing this too. I remember the average age here is pretty young, so these sailors are coming in and doing a great job. And I'm just blessed to be the chaplain for the best ship in the Navy,
rules,
the USS Bush.
So strict that you're not allowed to go on deck? Like, suppose you've got something on your mind. I mean, you yourself or a sailor, young sailor. Do the rules allow you to, if you have something on your mind, to go up on deck and just look out on the water and just think, or do you have to stay in your room or bunk, whatever it's called?
Well, obviously there are rules, and there need to be rules, because there are times when the seas are too rough. There's times when it's too dark, and there's times when there's things moving up here. But as you can see, I'm up here today. There's nothing going on, and so there are other sailors to my left and to my right who are on the deck. And so you can come on top, but we do have times when the commands will come over the loudspeakers. No one's allowed on the catwalk. No one's allowed on the flight deck. And that could be for operational reasons, but it also can be for any type of training. And so there are definitely times when you can't.
Suppose you're on a mission. Your ship is going somewhere where you're being directed. You're headed for a certain place, and an unexpected, I don't know if for you there are any unexpected hurricanes, typhoons, or storms over the water, but do they often alter your plans, knowing that there's a storm somewhere where you're supposed to be or on the way? Does that ever happen?
I've never experienced that, but and I would say probably the reason I haven't experienced that is that the Navy is very, very good at what they do. And so they're looking at the weather months out. They're looking at the storm. They're looking at the route that they're going to take somewhere months out. They've done it before. And so they even know, like, from the almanac, seasonal, what the weather normally is during that particular season. So I would say that the Navy's probably prepared for most of those things. Again, that's not my expertise. It's not my pay grade. But I would say totally I've never experienced us changing because of the weather.
Are you allowed to tell us what countries you've seen via the ship?
I have seen a lot of different countries, but usually I've been with the Marine Corps when I've deployed nationally. We spoke before, the Navy chaplains are the chaplains for the Marine Corps, the Navy, and the Coast Guard. And so in my career, I've been to Cuba, I've been to several Asian countries, Thailand, Philippines, South Korea, Japan, and Malaysia, Brunei.
That's Oh,
That's
wow.
about
That is
it.
amazing. I
Australia,
guess
yeah,
that's one of the
and
wonderful
Australia.
benefits of being on a ship. You just get to go everywhere.
I talked to a lot of the young sailors about what made them join, and one of the big things is I wanted to travel, I wanted to see the world, and the Navy definitely
That's the
gives you the
best way to
opportunity to
do
do
it.
that.
I suppose if you're not rich and you just can't dole out the money to hop on planes and go everywhere, I guess being with the military is a really good way to see the world. So I know you're busy, and I know you might be able to show us a little bit more of the ship. But my last question to you is, what is the best thing about being a U.S. Navy chaplain?
U.S. Navy chaplain, the ministry. I have the group of people that every church, every mosque, every synagogue in the world wants. I have young people, 18 to 25, where I can actually affect change. These are people who have left home and are trying to find their way in life, and they're trying to get those life skills, relationships, finances, all those things in order. And I get to pour into them something about God and show them just how amazing they are. So the best thing about being a Navy chaplain is that I don't see my congregation on Sunday. I see my congregation Monday through Sunday, every single day. And I see them not just in the church when we worship, but I see them in the gymnasium when we work out. I see them in the chow lines when we're eating. And I see them sometimes in counseling when they have problems, but I see them when they're cleaning up every single day, and I'm able to share with them, and they're able to say, hey, chaps, did you see the game last night? Or, hey, chaps, can I talk to you a little bit later?
Well, that's
And it's
really
just a great
interesting you're
relationship
saying
because
that,
I'm one of
because
them. I'm a
for a
sailor
lot of
trying
us,
to make my way
especially if
also.
you live in certain communities, the church is open on Sunday and it's locked up for the rest of the week. And it's very nice that they get to see you every single day. It's as commendable.
Well, and that's why we're here. We're here because you don't just need spirituality on Sunday; you need it every day. And so we get to share with them, and we understand their hardships because when we're away, we miss our families just like they do. So it's not like they're calling somebody on a hotline who doesn't understand what they're going through. No, we're going through it just like you. If you're cold, I'm probably cold. If you're hungry, I'm probably hungry. And so we go through the same things together. And so we're able to share, and I'm able
Okay,
to
that was
share
my
some
last question, but I
spirituality
do have
with
one
them
more
about
because you
my
said the
personal
word
God, and
family.
maybe we have the
So this
same
is an
faith, maybe we
amateur's
don't.
question, but do you ever have family day where you can bring the family on the ship and show them around? Is that allowed?
Funny thing is, yes, it is allowed. We had our official family day approximately 2 weeks ago. My family came down, my wife Audrey, my son Arthur, and my daughter Jordan. But we have tours going on today, and there have been a couple of families walk by during this interview. So yeah, we do have family day when we're in port, and
Awesome. I felt
they are
bad
allowed to
asking
come into
that.
the
Now I
ship,
feel
and
great.
there might be
So
certain
can
areas
we
they
see
can't go
just
to,
a
but they're definitely
teeny
allowed to come
weeny
up on a
bit of
flight
the
deck.
ship there? Because again, I've never seen a ship in person.
Okay, so I'm gonna walk out here into the center, and if you look at this big 77 behind me,
working over the side. Do not operate any underwater equipment. Rotate screws, cycle rotors, take suction from or discharge the sea before checking with the diving supervisor or the officer at the deck.
Okay, so this behind me is the what we call the island, and that's number 77. That's where all the command are done. That's where the pilot house is up top,
Ooh,
where they run the ship, and this is the length of the flight deck. And if we look over
nice.
here, you can probably get the sun right here a little better. So if you look over here, you see right there. And we're, like I said, we're in here with some others. So you have there's 75. That's the Truman, and then here, we have the Lincoln, and then further down,
Awesome.
we have the
How about that?
Eisenhower.
Well,
But
thank
of
you.
course,
Thank
the
you
USS
so
George
much,
HW Bush is
Commander
the best
Arthur
ship in the
Wiggins,
Navy.
for being on the show. I don't know if you're available for 5 minutes where I can open up the seats and see if anybody wants to jump in and say anything. So actually, I can end the show now and then unlock the seats. Okay. So do you have 5 minutes? Okay. So I will say goodbye. Don't leave, but I will end the show here.
I
So
do.
I'm ending the show here, and we'll ask questions in just a second.
Okay.
Let me stop the broadcast. Thank you for watching TV Skywriter.